Yes, in fact, if you don't have one, I got a few of my front. This is the set list. This shows you the contents of this libretto, which I'll be performing from today. So I created this whole show. Oh, actually, I was going to record sound on this. Hold on. Let's see. All right. When I got booked for this gig, I didn't realize that it was what the event really was, and then I realized, hey, this is something that was of significance to me back then, this Kent State shooting. But when I did the research on this, I realized I didn't know very much about it at all. Okay, anyway, here we go. I'm just going to do my show real quick, and oh, and I apologize. I have to leave kind of briefly after it. I've got people have been talking about deaths and friends like this. My best friend, an interesting story, his name's Steve Baugh. He was my older Kung Fu brother. Kung Fu, Chinese Kung Fu is a family. When you get into it, you're a family. And so he's always my older brother. And ironically, he's like a month older than me. And so anyway, he's always been my older brother since 1981. He taught me fly fishing, we go camping and stuff in the 90s and all that stuff. So he was the best friend. He was very significant. He's passed away. So there's an honorarium at the Martial Arts History Museum. So I got to hurry over. It starts at 5. So sorry. That's why I'm going to leave abruptly. But anyway, this show is about death also. And I don't like to really go back and bring a lot of these things. But the Kent State, I'm calling it Kent State Murder Day. That's the name of my show title. But if you look it up, it's called Kent State Massacre, Kent State Shootings, and a few other names like that. So that's kind of my take on the thing. But let me read you real quickly, I'll get to my stuff. From Wikipedia, this is a quote. The Kent State shootings, also known as the May 4th Massacre or the Kent State Massacre, were the shootings on May 4th, 1970 of unarmed college students by members of the Ohio National Guard at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio, during a mass protest against the bombing of Cambodia by United States military forces. 28 guardsmen fired approximately 67 rounds over a period of 13 seconds, killing 4 students and wounding 9 others, one of whom suffered permanent paralysis. So that's an event that obviously should have never happened. It shouldn't even possibly have happened. It shouldn't have got close to happening. So there's problems there that haven't been resolved. So I did a summary of the rest of the thing in just a few sentences. The resulting USA campus strikes were composed of 4 million students. 4 million, I mean, that's let me just read. Resulting in the closure of 450 USA schools. 30 ROTC buildings were destroyed. Protests continued at over 700 campuses in America. Unfortunately, and here's the most important part of this, unfortunately, President Nixon said the silent majority were the only voices he was listening to. Some middle class encouraged more shooting of students. Have we learned anything about bombing other people or shooting Americans? But I'm really appalled that I think that we need to look at that, because I think there's lessons we did not learn. But let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to start then this with a song, poem about our president. Starts with Menudo Man. Menudo Man, he thinks with his gut. It's bigger than most, so he must be smart. Good thing he doesn't think with his butt. I'd rather hear him burp than politically fart. Okay. Now I'll jump into the military industry poem. This is the title of this poem. Okay, this was written recently. I heard Joe Rogan say, war makes people do terrible things. Then suddenly I realized yesterday that's why we need a war and an uprising. If the embers of war were ever to smolder and become cold, why would we want to spend $40 trillion a year more of our taxes without a war being sold? No, we'd have to send our troops home and start hiring soldiers less and less. Without a battle for tanks to roam, even stealth bombers would become useless. Hold on. People would be less inclined to keep buying nuclear Harriers and aircraft carriers if a few pages of paper, the president wants less than 4, could be negotiated and signed before erected barbed wire and claymore barriers. People might get used to peace and traveling the world without boycotts and bayonets. If all wars were allowed to cease, the new balance of power would have to amortize their regrets from all the Wall Street corporations that do not care about our teenagers being killed or maimed over there somewhere, as they add to society more PTSD. The true American disorder is our military industry. Or as I even called it in parentheses, the international military industry. It's not just us, it's a... Okay. Politics is legal misuses. Like I say, I'm working off our theme on government and war here. I got a note here. Socrates said we should never consider a successful attorney to be a good man. Socrates said that a successful attorney just distorts the truth better than other attorneys. Okay, here we go. Not since JFK have we voted for a person who we honestly trusted to improve the USA and CIA. Since then, we all vote for who will improve or not worsen how much stuff we get to claim each day. We want more money, we want less taxes, we want aloe-infused jasmine-scented tissues. We want someone to protect us from whoever attacks us. We want to satisfy our greed and other personal issues. We want to protect what we believe, no matter what. That's where politics gets screwy and deceiving. As politicians patronize their voters, thinking with their gut, they can remain in office for 30 years, never replaced, never leaving. We pay our senators and congressmen to say what we told them. They can be 80 years old, but they protect the voter issues. Now, if they're working for themselves. The more you pay, the more they sway. They are professional attorney salesmen. Politics is their court. It's a deceptive sport created for legal misuses. All right. Oh, now I get to play a song. Okay, it says I got to play back hills, or I'm doing this little script. If you want one of these after the show, I'd like to think they're collector's items, and I signed them, numbered them, and everything. So there's only 50. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is Black Hills Ride. This is from my upcoming album called Scorpion Resurrection. I've actually started recording it. It's coming along. Anyway, here we go. I'm imagining myself driving through the Black Hills of South Dakota on a motorcycle, so my eyes will be closed, and I hopefully won't fall off the stage. Here we go. That's actually a risk. Okay. I had fun. I was really cruising. Okay, next poem. This is called Lockdown World. And this is unfortunately a true story, or you can see them on YouTube. Okay, start with a woman's voice, and she is saying, "We're living our life afraid of the world our grandparents made." So chanced the woman at the podium. She bussed 100 school kids so the adults would listen to what she told them. "We want a lockdown world." She says children behind bars are safe and free. She says she lives in fear every single day, but she knows she'll feel better if they take everyone's gun away. Perhaps she's right to stop the deaths, automobiles, or the euthanasia business. And banning motorcycles for sure will Stop those guys in rush hour. And our cars are all standing still. Perhaps we'll keep the jet planes. They don't seem to crash. Haven't heard anyone complain. I wrote that song before the 737 started landing prematurely. Sorry. Okay. But if bicycles and skateboards create too many scrapes and sprains, well, is horse poo a problem? I can smell the methane. Okay, so where are we going to stop? When's the green deal? Here we go. Golden rule. Golden rule is for murderers. There's a pointy one. I like giving these people. Everyone thinks the golden rule makes you a better person. It actually condones murder. Okay, here we go. Golden rule is for murderers. From caring to being willing, from learning to understanding, some people may go farther in life than me. Beyond the awareness of curiosity fulfilling, a mind may see what wasn't planned and discover their ability for creativity. Complaining is accusing that someone or something is abusing your rightful place while living. Each complaint, exaggerated or delivered with restraint, creates the need for punishment given. Through the pain, suffering, and orchestrated demise, modern men and women believe vengeance is wise. The golden rule is for those who are outliving, because violence and murder, it justifies. In other words, if they were going to kill you for doing something, kill them for doing it too. Now, I'm going to leave you with some piece of wisdom. What is the original golden rule? The original golden rule had 3 letters more in it. That's the problem. Somebody dropped 3 letters. You go to the original golden rules, thou shalt not do to Radomir what I do not want Radomir to do to me. See? So nothing gets done. See? So it's a not. You got to put the word not in there. You put the not in there, now you've got the real golden rule. Now people won't kill each other. But as long as you can justify, well, they'd kill me if I did that, so I can kill them for doing it. You can just keep the circle going around and around. So you got to put the word not in there, and you got the real golden rule. Okay, here we go. Cat State Murder Day. My theme poem for today's event. Okay, I've spent my time on this planet avoiding political life. But as I learned, despite how I planned it, you can be democratically destroyed by an ungrateful wife. So I'm looking now at politics. I'm watching hours of videos each day. I realize the well-intentioned, bad-mannered kids are trying blindly to teach each other a better way. And that really is the basis of what's wrong in political attorneys. They've widened their apathy by living in palatial places like plantation owners who don't dine with their employees. How did the government evolve, separated from the majority they serve? Perhaps because all humans revolve around the bank, keeping the money they think they deserve. And which bank are they? Okay, here we go, page 2. And that's an important word, lost in our fast food culture and games. The word deserve is absurd when young people use it to punish people for not properly saying some socially weaponized name. Okay, deserve as a punishment? There's a positive side to consider. Did you know if you achieve some sort of accomplishment, you should deserve some applause on Twitter? Oh, you aren't aware of fortitude like I am. It's an ingredient of success. Without more than your initial enthusiasm, you're just a fickle, frail, millennial mess. But let's get back to political living. That was designed as a way to be society beginning. Thomas Jefferson stated it should be a financial loss to claim the position and do the job of a political boss. So, the Founding Fathers were very, very wrong though. If they believed elections would clean up greedy scum. They realized voters could be seduced by a song. A couple were suspicious. They predicted Americans may be too dumb. They discussed how political liars and cheats would sway the votes with fancy words. But they didn't foresee that where politicians meet would become a separate country. That was absurd. But Washington, D.C., and the capital of every state is a Mount Olympus, not built for mortals. The cattle forage below on their allocated grass. Like Nazi Germany, it appears America woke up too late to close government portals that separated them from the middle class. Like Mitch McConnell, who serves the 1%, these politicians of self-interest are in complete agreement. They vote according to the Koch brothers' demands, honoring corporate promises and their party leader commands. For all the money the lobbyists did secretly give them. And what, like $100,000 for a lunch with a steel tycoon. That home in Tahiti was also given to him, along with some lectures for $1 million each. Wow! It is obvious that corruption is what our senators preach. They only work 5 months worth of days because the job of U.S. senator is to vote themselves a raise. For $174,000 a year, they pay taxes, income tax just like us. But with a $3 million expense account, you won't see them traveling on the bus. I'm writing this poem for performance right here, right now, on May 4th. My friends inform me that's Kent State Murder Day. So I've decided that on this public battlefield, I will step forth and share with as many people as possible how to create a better government in a reasonable way. So, if it ain't reasonable, I don't want to do it either. Okay? So, you know, I just want to come up with ideas that everybody can like. That's got to be possible. That's got to be possible. All right, I told you I was going to end this with a presidential poem, and here's the last one. Tyrannosaurus trumpticanus. There's a new monster they're discovering, a huge, giant, big belly reptile with deceptively colored camouflage skin and an insatiable, unethical eating style. When its fossil belly was examined, they were surprised to see what was crammed in. This monster devoured anything in its reach, with huge, sharp fangs and small little hands. It even enjoyed retreating to the beach. Perhaps like a whale, it could have set sail, but its mouth was perpetually open. This tyrant king evolved by believing those who believe in the truth will always fail. As climate change cooled his hands, still groping, until it accidentally, or excitedly, stepped on the Paul Ryan rodent, speaking below, but the trumpticanus was never listening, even slightly, as he tweeted invitations to who he wanted to eat, with his little claws protruding from his slimy scales in the snow. Well, nope. Trumpticanus wasn't our Darwinian kill. Somehow he was weathering that political, polar, ice age chill. He was enjoying being the first Titanic captain, eating his supporters and adoring fans trapped in the promise of being in his living will. But eventually he was killed by insatiability. He ate everything from a donkey to an elephant, to a sexy, blonde, gorgeous, big-lipped Danny goat. But what killed him was a Mitch McConnell. Somehow that prehistoric snapping turtle got stuck in his throat. So Dr. Mueller of the Furry Burglar Insecurities, so it was out FBI, examined this distorted, chaotic debris. He commented on the subsequent rise in population. It appears the monster's death enabled a Russian mammal migration. As all the little Washington reptile raptors sweep up the bloated tyrant king mess, they're all secretly worshiping the failed monster master because they all want to be the next Tyrannosaurus from the cat. Thank you very much. Now, if I can leave you with a song on my flute, I want to welcome you to, this is my first feature show too, so any feedback you want to give me, I'd like to hear it. Glad to have you here for it. Okay, so here we go. This is a song called Great Salt Lake, written about well, it's not so great to look at, but Great Salt Lake. Here's the name of this song. Here we go. is that I think we've really got to come to an understanding that we're not communicating well with each other. We can't be warring against ourselves. Even just politically talking, we've got to do a better job of talking. You know, it should never even get this close to shooting teenagers. I mean, gosh, what's happening? Talking should have happened a long time before that. But that's the problem. And we were being ignored by our government. I mean, he actually stated, I'm not listening to you. I don't care if there's 500 million of you people protesting. I'm not listening. That's our president said then. And we obviously found he wasn't working well. So I think that we always need a president who's listening to us. At least we got to think he's listening to us. How about that? Anyway, thank you very much. That's my kid's thing. Thank you very much.
And I have to speak louder, right?
Yes.
This is, so tonight will be on YouTube,
Yes.
and what will it be under Unbuckled?
Your name and Unbuckled.
Oh, each person's name, okay, yes.
So the show's gonna be on YouTube.
YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I knew that. I'm just testing you.
All right. So this is a very special time for me because 3 years ago I lost my son in May. So I have two things to read here. This is a birthday card I sent him once. Son, while I waited for your arrival, I imagined your presence. In my dream, I saw a laughing child flailing through the waves, coming across an ocean, then sitting on the beach, laughing, laughing. It was a childhood filled with laughter. Each year I felt was better than the last. Oh, child, never grow up. In many ways, you never have. In a mother's heart, a son is a son, forever beloved, forever young. I have no idea when I gave that to him. Be happy now. Be happy. Don't sit and pine for me, but meditate in your garden and know that I am free. Free of all the anguish that has haunted me since my baby was stolen and my life ebbed away from me. But tell my story, Mama. Tell my story. There was so much sadness in me, I could not compromise. I just could not do it. There was not enough strength in me. God gave her to me. She was mine, mine, mine. No one on earth had the right, Mama, to take my baby from me. Court orders are human betrayals if they violate God's rules. The crib, Mama, the bookcases filled with children's books for you to read to her. A court order for full custody. Everything. Till the baby's mom appeared. Adversarial laws are wrong, Mama, when it comes to parenting. I gave her the telephone. That's the only thing I did. She stood out on the landing to call the powers that be. A supervisor, Mama, that hated me. Oh, wait. Miner's father, Attica man, has failed to comply with prior juvenile court orders. In that, Miner's father has allowed Miner's mother to frequent and visit with the minor in his home, thereby endangering the minor's physical and emotional, health and safety, and placing minor